I am super excited to introduce my guest. She's the host and creator of her own highly rated podcast, Uncover Your Magic. She's on a mission to empower her students to live a life with confidence and know that they can be, do, or have anything they desire. I want to welcome Ashley Gonor to my podcast. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Billy. What a pleasure and what a full circle moment it is today to be with you and having started our podcast journey together.
Yes, we started it a couple of years ago when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
I was like, I had some free time on my hands. My school was, basically closed, and I was like, how do I keep doing what I do? How do I spread my word? Without having a school. So, the podcast idea came in, and we both did a course on how to create our podcast. And I mean, who knew that our podcast would blow up the way they did? I mean, you're one of the highly rated podcasts out there, and mine, I just looked, I'm like top 2% of all podcasts globally. It kind of blows my mind.
I know, right? I remember the old, at the beginning thinking, who's going to listen? Who am I going to interview? Who's going to interview? Who's going to come to the Zoom meeting? But, I think it's a perfect example of when I always look at it like I had an inspired thought that day. I signed up for Michelle's and Jenny's class. Richard at the moment said to me, Ashley, this is one more thing you're not going to finish. And I thought, well, the girls hadn't been closed down yet. The schools were still open. And so I remember listening to her podcast class that something hit me like, I think I want to do this. And so I signed up. The next morning I woke up and thought, what was I thinking? I don't have time. The girls are young. I drive them, to school, pick them up. I don't have enough time to fold the clothes, right? Or do the dishes or whatever. But I just had that in me. And I think that inspired thought, and I know now from my growth of the podcast, from learning from these people that I get to interview every week, of that inspired thought was like that little sign going, Ashley, you got to do this. And if you don't say yes, because I always say you got to say yes to everything. Just do it. If there's a little sign in your head that says start a podcast or go to Billy's studio and learn how to act and become an actor, go. There's a reason for those little thoughts. So when I did that, the next day I get the call from the school saying, come pick me up, Mom. We're closed down. I thought, that's why I have all the time in the world now. So I didn't even have a laptop, Billy. I had to borrow Presley's when she was done with school in their bedroom. And Jenny would say, are you going to get a laptop? And I said, well, the stores are closed. They weren't shipping. It was like something weird during that time. And I just had to wing it. I didn't have any I wouldn't know how to even do a Zoom call. I wouldn't know how to put anything in a Google Drive. I didn't know. I was the joke for Jenny. Like, I remember I was on the call with her all the time asking her how to do it, but I knew in my heart that I really wanted to do this. And, I know you talk a lot about know your why. A lot of times people are so worried on the how to do it. I really look back at the last 3 years. I didn't know how to do it, but I knew my why. And when you know your why, you just you have that, the eye of the tiger, you're just like, I got it. I know I'm going to figure this out. And you just keep doing it because you know your why. It's so important. Don't you?
That's when the magic happens.
Yes. That's when you uncover your magic.
Yes. It's funny you say that. I was, I don't know, it's got to be 8 years ago. About 8 years ago, I was in a tough place, and, I was dealing with a lot of stuff, people dying, heavy stuff. I lost my 11-year-old niece to brain cancer, and I lost my stepfather to prostate cancer, and, my wife got diagnosed with breast cancer. And I mean, I was getting bombarded. My dog ran out and got hit by a car. I mean, it was just, I was in a sling. I tore my rotator cuff. I mean, we had a miscarriage. I mean, you name it, it was happening. And I was at the worst point of my life. I mean, I really felt like life was beating me down. And I would go my beautiful wife, during her journey, she was doing yoga. She wanted to take yoga classes, so teaching yoga. So she was doing her yoga teacher training, and she'd come home, and she'd be all blissed out because she just came back from meditation, and she'd be like, and she'd see me on the couch, a mess, and she go, you really should go try this meditation thing. And I was like, yeah, I shut my brain off. I can't do that, but I
Right.
listened to her. She always knows what's best for me. And so I went, and it took a while, but I kept showing up, and I kept going to meditation, and it was life is game changer for me to really get out of my head. And then I was sitting in meditation in church, where I go, quiet little church, American Martyrs. I go there and I sit there, and it's empty, and it's just me, and I'm meditating. And I got this inner voice, this little thing going, you have to open up an acting school. And I was like,
Oh,
what? My ego was like, no way, like, but this little voice kept telling me, you have to open up an acting school. And this is like, it's like the worst time of my life. I've been out of work, it's been a bad place. And as I walk outside the steps of the church, I find this little card on the floor, and it said, time, talent, treasure. How are you sharing your time, your talent, and your
oh,
treasure? And it hit me,
I
and I
love
was like,
that.
I'm not. I mean, it's been me, ego, acting, me. And there was this little voice telling me that I had to open up the school. And I was like, I resisted. And then I was like, no, I'm going to do this. And like I said, it was impossible for me to be able to create a studio at that time, especially where I live in Manhattan Beach, to rent the place and to build out the place. I didn't have the funds and everything. But as soon as I said, I'm going to do this, the universe started
Yeah.
working miraculously, delivering. I mean, I had somebody that I literally just met one time come to me and say, here, I want to give you this $20,000 so you can go build your school. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
people were literally coming over to me. They believed in what I was doing, and they were trying to help me make the dream a reality.
Wow.
So, I truly believe that once you want to listen to that little inner voice, because once you do and you take that step forward, then the universe goes, okay, now I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you all the things that you need. And
Right.
that's when the magic happens. But you
It
have to
is.
believe, you have to truly believe and have that vision.
For sure. And another thing is I always teach is you might think it's going to look a certain way or you have this vision, but instead to surrender to just keeping taking those steps and be in awe and wonder of, oh, I thought it was going to be this, but oh, it's this. Like, like just keep going. And if they, you know, our life here on this in this body is like a blink of an eye. Don't you want to, do things, to excite you? And, I always talk about raise your vibration. Those are the things that the momentum starts, and then you're like, gosh, I'm going to do this. I mean, look at you in your studio, like a waiting list, like it's like, you know, when you have this desire and it's in fact, like just finding that card on the floor, and even picking it up and looking at it as it is that there's synchronicities
Mm.
every single moment of the day. And you know how many we see? So little. You could have walked past, you didn't look down, you could have just not used it as a sign, that people don't use the messages from the universe to lead them to or listen. It's like, I always talk about the reticular activating system. And we do this with my clients. You pick something and, that's how I created my white Range Rover. I had in the pandemic, I had a black, one of those Land Rover. They were the new ones. I really never liked it, but it was always in the shop and I never had it. But during that time, I didn't drive. And I thought, um, it was not a big deal. So all of a sudden my husband comes home and he goes, I think there's a lemon law. I think that car, because it's not even 2 years old, would be a lemon. So we start going down that rabbit hole. It is. But I said to the girls, I think mom might get a new car. What would you want me to get? And they both said a white Range Rover
That's
with a
funny.
white interior. And I'm like, okay. And so we were at the dealer anyway, because my car was there. We went to the into the parking lot and found a brand new white Range Rover, took a picture. Um, And then we start playing this reticular activating game. I said, let's count how many white Range Rovers we see on the freeway. So the first day we'd see a couple. By the time like 3 days in, every car on the freeway was a white Range Rover with white interior. And in 2 weeks, I had that white Range Rover that we took a picture of. And it wasn't like I told the guy I want that Range Rover. He had it ready for me. The car was a wash. I would never have been able to do that at the moment, but they gave me all my money back for the 2 years that I paid. They have this huge check. And I'm like, no, I got to get that white Range Rover. And Richard's like, there's a lot with black. I go, no, it has to have white interior. That's what the girls ordered. But I think when you teach people, like, once you put your mind to something, it's going to show up in things that, but if you're not looking and you're not you have your blinders on, I always say that, or your head's in your phone,
Yeah.
and you're not focusing on the magic in the world and the universe that we get to live right now in this body, then it just passes you by. And then, like, you think of, all the things that, these people get up in the morning, they don't have a morning routine. They go have their coffee, roll out of bed, go have their coffee, go to work, come home, do it again. That's just existing. There's no magic when we are here in this to experience magic, right?
Can we? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're everything that you're saying. I'm thinking about like this studio that's behind me. Right now, I created it in a vision board years ago. Like 20 something years ago, I had a theater in Hollywood, and it was a little on Melrose. It was a little crappy black box theater. And when we were building this black box theater, I said, why are all black box theaters little crappy little theaters?
Right.
One of these days, I'm going to create a really nice black box theater. And I literally had this vision of the theater, and I cut out pictures, theater seats and old style Hollywood makeup mirror and a producer's lounge with the movie posters. And I created that vision board, and now I live in it. This is, right. I pulled out a vision board in my garage the other day, and this when I was living in Hollywood, and I had this amazing view of, the sunset and palm trees and whatever. Well, that's my view now. That's what I live in. That's what I see every day.
So huge.
But, it's truly seeing it and envisioning it, and then really going after it like you mean it. Like, I'm going to go get this and taking massive action to make that a reality. You can dream it all you want, but you have to take the first step. You got to create the podcast. You have to, build the studio. You have to make that happen. You can't just dream it up. So I love this morning routine stuff. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Oh, sure. I'm all about the morning routine. Oh my gosh. I get up. Well, I teach my morning routine to I have a kids class that I teach, a teenage class called Raising Confidence that was born through this podcast, through my Uncover Your Magic podcast, because all these parents were listening to my first couple of episodes, and they were me doing solos. And I'm like, you were listening? They're like, can you help my kid? Because they're all, they were on lockdown. And I was like, sure. And I'm thinking, okay. And then a couple other people, all of a sudden I had these 10 kids, some online, some would come to the house with their masks on. And so, when I started doing that, I realized these kids and a lot of adults don't have a morning routine to set their day. And I have taught my girls from the moment they could talk or hear me, we were doing a gratitude journal. We were doing I am statements in the car. We were doing our prayer. We still do. There has not been a day, they're 16 and 14, that we have not done our morning routine. We have never missed it. And
awesome.
because the importance of your vibration, because I always say, if you start the day in a bad mood, or you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you know how long it's going to take you to get to that high vibration? I always say, be the thermostat, not the thermometer. Be the thermostat where people are like, what did you do? What did you do this morning that got you to this place? And then they rise to your level, or they just go away. They can't sustain that vibration that you've created from your morning routine. So they kind of disappear. But this is my morning routine, Billy. I lay in bed, the alarm goes off, but I kind of am already awake. So it's at 4, it's at 4:30. And I lay there and think of the three just the feeling of what I felt the day before, of these gratitude, the moments that made me really happy, because that's going to raise my vibration already. And then I smile. And if I don't feel like it, I just do it anyway, because that those whatever that does to your
Sure.
nerves, it sends that message. Oh, she's happy. Okay. Well, then I'm going to make her, this is good. She's going to be happy. And then she's going to say in her head, because her husband's sleeping, I'm going to have a great day. So now it's like, you're going to find everything that's going to be great. You're going to find the parking spots. You're going to make the people that you are in connection with happy. You're going to find those synchronous, those cards on the ground, but you're starting your day magic, and to find the magic. So then you wake up and you look in the mirror. You don't have to say it out loud, or you can do it, inside your head, but you do your I am. You look in your eyes. I am, I'm beautiful. I am healthy. I am strong. Um, I'm going to connect with someone today that is going to take me to something different. It's like, it's just endless, but to always find new ones, because we can get into our rut of saying the same thing. The girls and I go, let's mix it up. Let's think of something new that we want to be, because you can have anything after I am. It's just, creating that. Make it up. Like, I'm a big fan of fake it till you make it. Like, you can, creating, just even smiling, just showing, that example is like, you're creating happy, you're making yourself happy. Even if I always say, you can put the pen in your mouth and it
Yeah.
just, yeah, do
Uh,
that. That's like,
uh,
oh, Billy's happy. It's like the brain's like going to find happiness. And then the gratitude journal, we always write, I always say 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. They're always supposed to be different. And then we put your intention for the day, because I always believe to have an intention, especially teaching kids. I mean, adults too, but to have an intention, you have to write that down. And then 2 people that you're going to give compliments to.
Love that.
And I mean, my girls have always gotten out of the car. I said 5 compliments a day, come in, pick them up after school. Who'd you give a compliment to? They wear uniforms. So like, be creative, look at their earrings, look at their shoes, maybe ask them how they did good at their soccer game, or, whatever. But you got to find something, and you have to do that with 5 people. And they would always come home and say, Mom, they don't ask me. I said, that's not why you're doing it. You got to learn how to give, and you need to learn how to, focus on other people. That always, and just watch what returns, how you feel when you do that. So that's basically the morning routine. I've incorporated grounding, things I've
Mm.
learned, you know, a meditation, 3 to 5 minutes. I always say, even if it's sitting in the shower, if you don't have that time and you just think you have to close your eyes and, do this, still your mind. If it's guided, go on, I always say, find an app, or, it's just, people think that meditation or, taking those little things is, a lot. And it's really not. It doesn't have to be that whole, what I just said could be 5 minutes. It's not this major, time consuming event. It's so important. And then once you get to see the, what happens, the magic after you, and I am such a routine person that I mean, I would never miss it. I would be in a weird, the girls would say, Mom, you, what did, you're sleeping, cause I get up early, walk the dogs, do all my things. It would be so weird. And I said, we don't even have a moment of, um, lowness, low vibration in the morning, because I've already been the thermostat. So they come downstairs ready for breakfast, and it's good morning.
Love
You're
it.
ready. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of my morning routine.
That's awesome. We have very similar morning routines, I
We
mean,
do? Oh,
yeah.
funny.
I mean, first thing I do when I wake up my eyes is I go through my gratitude list and all the beautiful things I'm grateful for, this new day. And then, as I go, to the bathroom or whatever, as I walk there, it's just gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And once again, when I look in the mirror, the old Billy would look in the mirror and start kind of going, "Oh, you look like shit," or blah, blah, blah. I got to shut that voice down and give myself, a compliment, you're
Yeah.
beautiful, and really be kind to myself. I like to separate, there's little Billy,
Right.
right? Little Billy's that little voice that's gonna be fearful and negative. Little Billy, I had a tough childhood. So little Billy is fearful and has a lot of stuff, issues. And he's always trying to jump into Big Billy
Mhm.
and drive Billy's bus of life, but he's a horrible driver. So I literally got to kick him out of the driver's seat and go, "Look, I love you, but you can't drive my bus of life today." And
Right.
I have to check him in the morning. So the way I do that is, the first thing I do is, well, when I make my bed, and make it tight and right. And I've already accomplished something right out of the gate. And then I go to the shower and I turn the shower on, ice cold, no hot water. And little Billy's going, "We're not getting in there. No way." And Big Billy goes, "We're getting in there." So I shut him down
Cute.
immediately, and I'm training, the beast, there's little Billy, and then there's the beast, the gladiator, the warrior, the one that's, we're going in. Whether you like it or not, and then as I'm in that cold shower, I give myself an incantation and affirmation, like, I mean, I did, Tony Robbins, "I'm the voice. I will lead, not follow. I will create, not destroy. I'm a force for good. I'm a force for God. I am a leader. I
I
will
love
believe,
that.
not doubt." I give in that cold shower, I'm giving myself, I'm setting my day for who's going to run the show, little Billy
Right.
or the beast, the gladiator, the
Right.
warrior, not the worrier. So, stepping into my light, the God within me, because I really realized that Billy is just the shell. Billy's the bag of bones called Billy is not who I am.
Right.
you know it's and that little Billy's had to carry his cross and do, he's had to deal with his stuff in his life. But that is not who I am. I am not my thoughts. That I am this beautiful light, peace, love, joy. So I let myself know in the morning who I am. I know who I am. I know what I am. I know how I serve. I am love. I am light. I am peace. I am joy. And I change my vibration immediately in the morning. And, then I go for a walk on the beach and, pray and meditate. And, just, visualizing all those beautiful things, and I give myself an affirmation like, "Today's the day of completion. Miracle shall follow miracle and wonders shall never cease. I give thanks for this perfect day." And, that's me setting my day off in the right path. So that
Yes.
we're very similar morning
Hmm.
routines. But it
Do you think meditation, because I love going outside. I love being out. I grew up in Seattle and I just had to leave. The rain was just too much. And now I look at my friends that are there, it's snowing. And I thought I was walking this morning and it's freezing. My face is, it's like at 5, I leave it, go early, 6 to 7.
Mhm.
My face is numb. I have my ski coat on, I have my dogs and I'm just so grateful. And it's such a, um, it's like the appreciation level goes up. I'm so into the trees and the birds. And I mean, sometimes I see coyotes and I'm not into that, but, um, so, do you look at your nature, like when you do your beach walks as like
Yeah.
really meditation, like you're
Yeah, it's a spiritual, it's just, I'm just in gratitude. I'm like, look at all this amazing, this beautiful, the birds, the ocean, the clouds, I'm really getting in touch with my senses. I tell my actors all the time, you really want to get in touch and be present in the
right,
moment and really, feel the sand underneath my toes and feel the warmth of the sun and hear the waves crashing, just get there sensorially to be really truly present,
right.
and
So, presence is so important, like being a parent,
mhm.
being present and looking, because I know you and Diana are amazing parents. And as a parent, as an older parent that we were, I think, I did all the Tony Robbins and I know you guys did too. And I did that before I did a few of it before the kids, and then I did Date with Destiny
Yeah.
the year before you did. We were like, we just crossed each other's paths. But the being present as I guess the best example for me is as a parent, because when I look back at the raising them in their childhood, I've been so present. I don't look back and go, shoot, wasn't there for that. I didn't listen when they asked me that. I don't have those voices, and I'm so grateful to know how important being in the moment is and how fast this life goes.
Yeah.
And I think being in the
So
moment,
important.
oh, so important. But I really feel the gift of a parent as being in the present. I mean, it's with everything. I mean, it's like even going through the holidays, because it'll be gone in a few days, right? Well, okay, there it goes. Did you enjoy? Were you like savoring every moment when you woke
Hmm.
up? You got to see the kids. It's like, they're getting older now. It's just a whole different experience. But oh, just savoring that. And in my head, I'm saying it. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, this is
It's
just,
great.
I love this, you know, but doing that in all life, doing it when I'm with you right now, I am so with you. I'm not anywhere else when I have my podcast. Like when I have my guests, and I'm sure you're the same,
Sure.
I'm just all in. And
Yeah.
then when I'm done, what?
Where are you going to be? I mean, like,
But I
you
mean,
gotta,
like I'm just like so focused.
in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that.
It's, if, for me, and I look back now, I mean, I'm very blessed, in my career, I've been, blessed that I've done very well for myself. So when my son was born, I was able to take care of him. Like my wife was working her 9 to 5 back in the
Right.
day. And, now she's, doing her passion with the modeling at Manhattan Model Studios. And she's really, she got to retire, and she's doing her passion, yoga and makeup. And, she's all her training she's giving to her students now. She grows to give, she's taken all these,
Yes.
so she's amazing. And I want to talk, my wife is cancer free, because I mentioned her cancer. She's healthy. So, thank God for that. But,
Yeah.
during, like, the early on, when my son was born, me and my wife, we gave him a bath every night together for years.
Aw.
We pray together every night. We've really truly been present in his life. I mean, I've been everything. I've been his soccer coach, his football coaches,
Right.
because I didn't have that. And,
Right.
I wish I had that when I was a little boy. So now I get to be that. I get to
Right.
be the dad that I wish I had.
Right. That's what
And,
Richard did too. Richard
uh,
was the same.
and my wife is such an amazing mother. I mean, I wish I had her as a mother when I was a
Right.
kid growing up. And he's got an amazing life. So he's blessed, and I feel blessed. And it's really, I used to tell him every morning when I wake up, I said, be kind to everybody. Go to school and say hello to everybody. Treat everybody the way you want to be treated.
Right.
You know, be kind. And he is. He's just a kind, gentle, amazing kid because of
Right.
that,
Of
because
course.
we were
Because of you.
present and we were there.
Yep.
You know?
100%. I look at, what the kids have gone through, having the COVID experience, this pandemic, a big, you know, portion of their childhood, especially when they were teenagers,
Mm.
going through in high school and middle school. And, with parents like you and Diana and Richard and I, like they didn't really skip a beat. I don't worry about their mind, because I know I
Mhm.
was there, and they go back and go, Mom, I wish we were still in quarantine. That was so fun.
Yeah.
I just loved being together and having dinners and playing Monopoly and walking on the golf course and taking the dogs. And then you hear the other stories, and
Yeah.
that's where my heart goes to.
Sure.
That's probably my why, is I want to help these kids see that it doesn't have to be this downward spiral.
Love that.
If you can look at things as happening for you, like we've
Mhm.
learned
Yeah.
through Tony Robbins and all of the things we've learned, and I say that to the girls all the time, like, you know, if they would always say, well, my mom always says everything's working for you, not to you. but I lead that with a lot of things, like everything is for you. All the little things that we think are the worst things are maybe worse at that moment, but gosh, can you just say, I wonder, in a couple days when I look back at that moment that was so hard, that it's going to turn your whole it's your perspective, right? It'll
Mhm.
change, and you'll see why it happened and find the magic in it, because it is for you. Nothing's to you.
Yeah. I mean, some of the worst times in my life. I mean, even the story I was telling you earlier, when I look back at cancer and all the stuff that I was going through, I look at it now as a gift. What a gift it was, because,
Right.
you really, it got me down on my knees. It gave me my faith. You don't take anything for granted. You love deeper. There's so many gifts that came out of it. The school came out of it, finding, who I am now. My roadmap as a kid was, I want to be an actor, I got that, but that map doesn't work for me anymore. And
Right.
that map doesn't lead to happiness. That's an old, outdated map. And now I know what my map is. My map is how can I be of service? How can I make a difference in somebody else's life?
Right.
To me, the secret to living is giving. And I truly found that.
Hmm.
And I am, every time my actors call me up and they go, I got an agent, I got a part, I got a this, it's, to me, it's so rewarding. It's even more rewarding when, I would get the call. I mean, I get
Right.
more excited for them
Totally.
than I did for myself. So it's, I really found my destiny, right? Remember talk about Date with Destiny. I mean, and really figuring out change your story, change your life. I mean, for me, I had some old stories that were running that were really limiting stories. And
Right.
now I look at them and I flip the script and I really look at them and I go, I'm grateful, I
Right.
had stories of, I give a quick example is, my parents were divorced. My mother was trying to raise three kids by herself on the mean streets of Brooklyn. And, she was 20 years old and she was in an abusive relationship with my father. Long story short, she once told me she didn't see me till I walked. So, she used to drop me off at this woman's house and I had a story of abandonment,
Hmm.
and I carried that story around with me my whole life, and I sabotaged relationships because I didn't want to get abandoned. I always felt, I had abandonment issues, and it was always a negative story. But now when I look at the story, it's a story of love, that my mother loved me so much that she knew she
Hmm.
was not capable of taking care of me. So she put me in the hands of somebody who could take care of me.
Right.
And
Oh,
it's a
so
completely
good.
different story. It's a story of love. And I choose to run that story instead of the one of abandonment.
Right.
And I mean, I got so many of those stories that, as a child, you create these stories around events and you carry them around as truths, but they're not. It's a little story that a kid created.
Right.
It's a bullshit story. Like my mother used to drag me to the mailbox when I was a little boy and open up the mailbox and go, look, your father doesn't send child support. What does the little boy do? He creates a story. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve money. My father doesn't love me. Blah, 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 blah. And
Yep.
it's just a story. If I was a fly on the wall and I watched what happened is a woman and a child walked to a mailbox, they opened it, they closed it, and they went inside. That is what happened. But I created the story and I carried that story around as a truth. But
Hmm.
now I know it's a bullshit story.
Right.
And I do deserve love and I do deserve money and I do deserve everything that's mine by divine right. And I know who I am. So, breaking those old records that, we play, and
Hmm.
catching them when they're playing, going, oh, this is an old record. I'm getting rid of that. I'm changing the channel. I don't want to be
Right.
on that channel. I'm changing the channel to this vibration of
Right.
who I am love. I am light. I am, whatever it is that you want to attract into your life. Well, why don't you change your language and change your thoughts?
Yep.
I know you do a lot of mindset stuff. Can we talk about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's all
Mm.
about your thoughts, and how many thoughts do you think a day? 60 to 80,000 thoughts that go through your head every day, and they're all the same. And most of them are negative. And to be aware of that, and to know that you're the only one that can create in your life. No one else can make you feel anyway. You can't be the victim. And it's an interesting experience um when you can live a life of neutrality, and watch yourself in the old way of, whatever way. Like, gosh, I used to get bad in traffic, or gosh, when my husband did that, I used to get, and now it's like, oh, he's on his journey. It has nothing to do with me. I'm creating my life. I'm the one that, thinks these thoughts to empower me, and, creates the words that I speak that are going to uplift me or uplift my kids or whatever. But whatever anyone else does, I get to choose how to react to that. And I have the power to, I mean, I go, my girls are on the rowing team crew, and I drive them 6 days a week to Beach, which is like a 50-minute drive, and it's in traffic, deep traffic. Now, I don't care about it. I don't worry about it. We'll get there when we're supposed to. I'm in the moment. But before I'd be like, oh, geez, I'd be so stressed out about, that's an example, silly example. But, when people get so wrapped up into the story or the things that they've always done, instead of coming from a higher perspective and go, okay, in a neutral way, it would just be, this is how it's going to be. And I'm going to create my life, and this experience is going to be beautiful. And I'm going to find the most beautiful ways to have a conversation with the girls, listen to fun songs, talk about whatever, talk about the day, and be in traffic for an hour. It's fine. And if someone crosses my path and then that's theirs. They're must be having a rough day, but you get to choose that. And when you know how to choose your thoughts, and especially your words in this home, the words. And did you ever listen to or follow Abraham Hicks?
Yes, I've listened to some. Yeah.
Okay, so I used to go to all her things, and she's from San Diego, so I've ran into her at the mall. But that was like, she opened my eyes to a lot. And she used to say, cancel that. Like if you said, oh, I'm so fat, or oh, I'm so poor, or, whatever you're saying, you're putting it out there. Okay, then it's like a genie in a bottle. Like that's your wish, is my command. Okay, there you go. Right. So I was always aware she really taught me that, of how powerful your words are. And so raising my girls, it's all, if someone's not feeling well, we talk about the wellness of it. Like what do you feel good about? We don't talk about the sickness part. Or, if we say, oh, mom, I'm so bad at math, or, I'm like, what? No, what did you do good? Maybe there was one problem. Let's talk about the good. And you need to cancel that quick, because you're going to be bad at math. But like, or whatever it is. But it's so, your words create your life.
Sure.
You're just like your thoughts. Your thoughts are, if you can really control your thoughts and learn how to meditate and see the separation of your stillness versus the thoughts, and know that those thoughts are not even your thoughts, like if you can get to that place, oh, life is just this, like, I mean, one magic moment after another. And so when you realize, the minute you catch something that you say, those are the moments that you're like, I did say something negative. I caught it. That's a huge win. And that's a moment of, I'm going to pivot and remember that I'll switch it next time. But those are even the times that you get triggered by someone. It'd be like, okay, there's old Billy. Okay, there he goes. But it's kind of cool. You're like, you're aware. It's not like the end of the world, but it's kind of fun. Like, oh, that really triggered me, Ashley. Oh, what is it in him that is in me? Because it can't trigger you unless it's in you. Because it's all a mirror.
Yeah.
Everything's a mirror, you know. But yeah, I love, um, I guess when I go back to being a mom, having, teaching these kids to, be aware, because I see the social media, all the pressure that we never had as a kid, and how it's just a whole different experience being a child, raising a teenager in this life than it was when we did. Or even getting a driver's license. I mean, we ran to that DMV to get our driver's license. These kids are like, oh, maybe, like, it's not a big deal. And it's just so interesting And I'm thinking, is it just the society? Everything's kind of a, I can call Uber, I can get, everything's so fast,
Mhm.
nothing ever has to be, it's like being creative or trying to, I don't know. It just, everything is like copy and paste, on, off. We didn't have that. We had to, kind of figure things out, we were going to do it. I don't even know where I went on that
Sure.
rampage, where that
Well,
came from, but anyway,
sure. I mean, we had to go to the library or go to get an encyclopedia. I mean,
right?
they have it in their phone, and they have access to everything and anything in that little device. I tell my son all the time, get off the phone, do something artistic, go paint, draw, do something else. But I don't want to see you staring at that phone.
Oh, me too.
You know,
Yeah, don't
and
get me started on that phone thing.
so you've had how many guests have you had on your podcast?
I just put out the 41st episode.
Bravo, that's amazing. And you do it every week. I mean, I'm every other week and I know how hard it is. So I
Yeah.
applaud you for
Oh.
doing, every week. So you've interviewed some amazing guests. What are some of your biggest takeaways from some of those guests that you've had on?
I look at my podcast, and you might do the same, but I look at it as kind of my like a book, like watching my growth. At the beginning it was certain, different topics, and I look now like that wouldn't be who I would be, opening up to. And, 3 years into it, 141 episodes, it's a whole different experience now than it was back in the single digits. Or, remember when we had get to 18 and you're like 90% of the podcasters, you've surpassed. But I remember getting to those little, benchmarks. And, now looking at it, when you say it's like you applaud me for doing it, I know it's hard. I know it's like, yeah, it's a commitment. And it fulfills me so much. And I've learned, I can't imagine not doing it. Like, people will message me that were in our class, Ashley, I see you're still podcasting. And I'm like, I don't think I could not. I love it so much because I love learning. I think it forces me down these rabbit holes of, of a person that I might have just brushed by because they interest me in a podcast. But when I find this person, and I always say like they were calling me or something. I don't know, like find a YouTube. I'm like, where did that person come from? Or how did I run into that person on Instagram? And I just know it's all universally, you know, attracting to me when I'm ready. Like the student is ready when the teacher, or the student is ready when the teacher appears.
Mhm.
Like, I'm ready for these people because it's just super, like, it's evolved into this. I mean, the things I'm talking about now are, way out there. And it just shows my growth, I guess. And that's probably why I love it so much, because I can look back at my episodes and see, oh, I've really grown a lot. Like, I think 2022 was like the most I can see my growth the most, and where I'm at now and how I view when I look at somebody. Like, looking, if I was sitting there with my a guest, if I'm sitting here with you a year ago today, how like my view on you is like, we're one, we're all connected. I've,
Mm.
like, before I would be asking you like about time, and and now I'm like, oh, I've learned so much, and it's addicting in the way I am, and I just can't wait for the next person to find. And so when I find these people and I
Mm.
get to go down their rabbit holes, it makes it just it sends it, it does something to me, but it really fulfills me. And I think meeting people, and you look at these people on that wrote these books that I read, that I probably I might have read them, but because I really wanted to, study them and be ready for the interview, it took my knowledge of whatever they're really like, wow, I never would have known that. So I think it's just been a growing. It's just it makes me, want to learn more and more. Like, I just can't imagine where this next year is going to be. And I can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, I do this. I grow to give.
Right.
to give
Yes,
to my
totally.
students.
Yes.
I try to learn new things that I can, I pick, on my podcast, I've been blessed. I've had Academy Award winners, Golden Globe, Emmy Award winning, casting directors. It's not only actors, producers, writers, and I just pick their brains and I get all these golden nuggets that I can take back. And when I teach my class, I can,
Right. Love
give
that.
that to my students, or
Right.
whether it's mindset or meditation or breathing or whatever the tool is that I'm learning from some great teachers out there, that I get to give that to.
Right.
I have my teen class. I teach them, it's an acting class, but it's a life class. I teach them how to breathe, how to ground themselves, how to
Uh,
visualize, how to manifest whatever it is that they want. I mean, I truly believe, like you say, having your mission is to empower students to live a life with confidence and know that they can be, do, or have anything they desire. I mean, that's me too. You have the ability. If this dream was given to you, that's why my podcast is called Hollywood Dream Maker. This was given to you. This is a gift. It's already there. You have nothing to acquire. You just have to light it on fire. It's right
right.
there within you. The magic's already there. I mean, my course here at the studio is called the Michelangelo, because
Uh,
all my job is to, the masterpiece is already there. All I got to do is chip away at those
right.
little limiting
Oh, I
beliefs, the
love that.
little things, the little stories that you're holding on to, that
Right.
you need to let go of, to really step up into who you really are, the
Right.
powerful you, the confident you, the fearless you, the light within you, the God within you.
Yeah.
I truly believe that we are one, and everybody, the homeless person living across the street, we all have that same light. We're all living in
Yes.
these little shells, that, Billy and Ashley, these shells, but this is not who we are.
No.
And when you can really get that and know that who you are, how powerful you are, that you have the ability to create whatever you want. And if you really sit, and I found the key to it is sitting in stillness and visualizing and taking the virtual tour and seeing yourself goal achieved, not like something that you're trying to get to. You already have it. It's there, and
Right.
then in Billy's life, you have to be careful what words come out of your mouth, because if you say, I want to be, you visualize yourself rich and famous in your meditation, and then you say, I can't afford that, you're blocking that thing from coming to fruition. So it's really visualizing it, seeing it, goal achieved, and then speaking into that. And that's when the magic happens, because it's already there. All you have to do is know that you have the power to make it come into reality.
Right. I always
It,
say, like if I would, if, teaching an actor, I would be like, what is that, if you want to be that part, what is that person doing today? Are they, are they at, what are they doing? So become that person, I mean, as an actor, like I would think all those actors that come into your studio have that, because passion in them is to become another, play another part, play another person. But I would think those people that you attract are like, if I want to be that part, if I want to play whatever role, I'm going to become that person. But that's exactly how you manifest things in your life. You become who you want to be. You become
Mhm.
that person. What do they talk about? What do they eat? What do they go do during the day? What is their routine? Become it. Because I mean, it's like it's yours. You're just gonna, all these little things are holding you back. So just become that. Just be it. Be it. See it, be it, do it. It can be all everyone. It's like people make things way too hard.
Yeah.
And it's those limiting beliefs. And I love getting those people that get those. I pull, it's like I have this passion when I have my clients on Zoom, and I just can, even the kids, I can see it. And with the kids, it's like been such a short time, since 0 to 7, they're all programmed. Well, if I get them at 14, it's only been 7 years. So it's like, okay, then they're pretty easy to erase. And
Mhm.
then I show them, look, this is what you're saying. This is what you're doing. It's not true. It's what you've been programmed. So get it out. And let's be done with that now. So, and then I'm with parents, and it's, we're in our 50s and they've played these stories their whole life. and they want something, but they know they can't have it because of all these things they keep saying about their can'ts and their won'ts and like whatever. But the fear, and I'm always like, push past the fear, always say yes to everything. And, when you have an inspired idea, do it.
Can we talk about that for a second? Fear?
Sure.
How do you push past fear?
You once you do it, you just go, okay, I did that time. Like, I mean, it's example is this podcast.
Mm.
Like look at it. I mean, I had so much fear. I was a wreck, but there was no way. Like, I got to keep pushing. I've got to do it. And now I look at, consistency, momentum, once that fear is pushed, I look at having, you know, anything in life, like you want something, just like we were talking about, that fear is it's just, false evidence appearing real or whatever you want to call it. But, like all that fear is like, Tony Robbins, kick through the door, like I remember like thinking, just kick through the door, and it's just like, that was a big, powerful moment at Date with Destiny. I remember thinking, or even at UPW, I just remember thinking, you know, we're the only ones that are going to live this life. We're the only ones, my soul in this body at this lifetime. I'm the only one that can do anything. Am I going to sit around and just be afraid to try something? Or there's nothing. That's a living a life of, where you don't realize your potential. You can do anything that your little inspired ideas are, but pushing past that fear and then reminding yourself, remember, Ashley, when you did that for the podcast? Oh yeah. Okay. I think I can do this. Yeah. I'm going to do it again. Cause I got it. And then you just have these little benchmarks in your life that I always say to these kids, like, when you did that, remember, like, what did that feel like? Aren't you proud of that moment that you just said, I'm going to do this? And then you go there and then you were like, okay. And then you just I always talk about breadcrumbs, like the business, the card that you saw, that was a breadcrumb. They're breadcrumbs. And when you walk down that yellow brick road and you keep picking up the breadcrumbs, you might, and even if there's a little fear, just do it anyway. And I think, I always talk about trusting and surrendering. If it's not the way it looks, just keep going, and to not question and doubt, because those little words aren't true. Because we are so powerful and we can be, do, or have anything. I always say that, but it's true. We can.
For me, this podcast, I feared it big time. I mean, I was so uncomfortable because I'm an actor, and I like becoming somebody else, playing another character. I mean, I'm probably an actor because I was uncomfortable in my own skin as a kid growing up, and it was easier for me to be somebody else. So, when I took on podcaster, I remember when we had to do our intros and our outros, and I was trying to play the part of the podcaster. So I was like, hi, and welcome back to the Hollywood. And I recorded this thing, and I came home and I played it for my son, and he laughed at me. He said, Dad, you sound like a game show host. He goes, why don't you just be yourself? And I was like,
oh, what a concept.
What a concept. Be yourself. Yeah. And, really had to get outside my comfort zone. And just be myself. And that's what I do here. I don't, it's just me. This is me. And I had to get comfortable becoming uncomfortable.
Right.
Because when I started my podcast, man, every time I pressed that record button, my heart was pounding.
Oh,
or like, too. I had to check myself, like, what are you all nervous about? And now I still get it, but it's excitement. I go, I'm excited. I've done this. I love it. I love being able to add value to somebody else's life, and then
Right.
when I get that email, go, I loved your podcast, or I really learned this thing, or whatever. That's what it's all about,
Right. Oh, for
just
sure.
truly being of service.
But that is an example, when you talk about like pushing past fear, and then if you don't, and you just live this kind of life of like safe, play it safe, you know, you wouldn't have had that, the way you explained it, or the way I explain it, or, when people would keep going and just did it. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I was a wreck. And then you get to episode 50 and you're like, okay, I'm getting a little better. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm okay. It doesn't have to be perfect,
Yeah.
but I'm getting better. And then that's in everything of life, like I'm sure with Jake, like everything, all the sports he does, like, you know, after this season, how did you feel about that? You did this, the next season we're going to do. It's just teaching in life. Like you just keep these benchmarks and you're moving and you're pushing past that fear. And that's when the excitement in just even hearing your voice of how it feels now, and didn't know the gifts you were going to be giving to people, or the emails that you were going to get, or people thanking you for making a difference in your life, or you didn't have that story yet. You were just sitting here in this little box going, oh my gosh, I have a microphone and a computer and I have to do an intro, and oh my gosh, all the stuff that plays, this hamster wheel in
Mm-hmm.
everyone's mind that goes and goes and goes. And to stop that and go, you know what? I can do anything. Let me just push past. I know by the time I get to, it was just, if you look at a podcast, because it's 1, 2, 3, they're numbered. So you can really, it's like such a great way to look at, where you're at with in that certain thing in your life. In sports too, you can, gauge on, how well, you're doing in a sport, or an actor. It's like, am I getting these parts now? Am I, how many auditions am I getting? But it's acknowledging yourself and being proud and saying, I did that. And then the next time it'll be easier. Then you'll say it, you get the confidence, then it builds. And then life just becomes this like, what can I do now? I did that. Let's do
Mm-hmm.
something fun. Say yes to something else and try it. Why not?
Love that.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned Jake, my son, he was playing. I was coaching him in flag football, and then he went to high school, and he was like, "Dad, I think I want to play football, tackle football." But his fear of like, doing it, and he had to step up and get past the fear. And now, he's loves it. It's
Oh, it's
like,
cute.
it's like, Dad, I want to play football next year. So it's really just getting past that little noise, that monkey brain, that little fearful voice that's going to tell you fear, 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 and just stepping up and taking that step. I like the expression, fear knocked at the door, faith answered the door, and nobody was there. Just have
Right.
faith.
Yep.
This is what I'm supposed to be doing. If that little voice is telling you to do this, go do it.
Right.
And then go take massive action. Don't let it, you want to chop the head off the monster while it's a baby. You don't want to sit back and let it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. If something, you're afraid of something, go at it immediately,
Right.
and you'll see that there's nothing to fear.
Right.
You
Nothing.
know,
It's all made up.
yeah.
And even doing something, in our classes that we've taken, like with Michelle, or and we had to talk or do videos, live videos. Didn't we do that? Did you do that class too?
Yeah,
Oh,
that was rough for me.
that was really rough. Oh my gosh. But we did that.
Yeah,
And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, that's it was a wreck getting on there.
yeah,
But once you do it and you realize, I don't really care what other people think of me. And I'm teaching that with children, especially, like, just do it. Like, who cares? But their little minds are playing this game just like ours did.
sure.
But, once you do it, then you're
Yeah.
like, oh, you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for all that stuff. All that stuff that we did, the podcast accelerator, the live video mastery, all these things, just helped prepare me for doing this. I was never a social media person. I said, oh, I don't do social media. But,
Right.
if I want to spread my word and I want to be able to touch as many people's lives as possible, I have to become a social
Right.
media person. So
Yeah.
I've stopped telling myself that story.
Yep.
I'm not a social media person. Well, no, I am a social media person.
Right.
And, I continue to put, stuff out there to inspire others, and you'll find your audience, your tribe, those people that want to, be there because they love what you're saying
Right. Yeah.
and
I used
not
to do that
where.
too. Yeah. I used to say that too. I put a couple pictures up of the kids a couple times, but I don't do that. I'm like, well, no, now I do. And now I see now, um, the fruit of the labor, it happens when you get people to reach out to you and say, gosh, that really touched me, or that, I just, every week when I get a podcast, it goes out and I get these people, responding, oh, that meant so much to me. I'm like, really? Like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. That lights me up, and that probably gets me going to find the next guest, and learning something different to share. I just love, I think when I look back and know why that voice was saying, Ashley, do a podcast, it was to bring these people to light, and I must be attracting the people to share with these listeners that are so, interested and learning. And, would they have ever learned of that if I hadn't put, like, would that lady have passed cross my path, or would they have listened? But yeah, there's always something in that voice. There's a message. And when you listen to it and you don't ignore it, and go push past that fear, and just say yes. When Tony Robbins say yes,
Yeah,
in that room, say yes. And it's like, yes, say yes. Don't worry what people think. Don't worry. You'll figure it out. It's all in you. You have it all. You're not missing one thing.
love that. Yeah, it's just stepping up and saying yes and really going, I'm going to do this. And once you take that action, magic happens. you know
Yeah.
So if you were to go back, right, and you could go back and give little Ashley some life advice, what would that be?
Oh, everything is perfect. Everything, all these experiences that you're going to go experience, know that it's all for your highest good, and for is for you. And all the things that come into your life are for the growth of who you're becoming. And what you really, like, what I, would instill in little Ashley is the confidence to know that you have everything inside of you. You lack nothing, and that you are pure love, and all, you're surrounded and protected, and you take this life and do everything that comes to your mind, and say yes to everything that's calling you, and never be afraid, because you have, uh, I mean, you're protected beyond. And to, you know, have I don't know, just believe in yourself, and don't ever doubt your worth, and be worthy of, you know, being worthy, and knowing that you have everything. You have it all.
Beautiful.
I think that's what I would tell her.
If you were to tell the younger you, here are some books you should read, what would some of those books be?
The Game of Life and How to Play It.
Oh, that's
By
my favorite.
It is?
Yes, it's my
Oh,
favorite.
I
It's my
love that you love
favorite,
it.
favorite. It's my
Oh,
favorite. I mean, all those affirmations,
oh my God.
divine love now floods my consciousness with health, and every cell in my body is filled with light. All
Oh,
of those affirmations at the end of the book, I say them on a daily basis.
oh my
You
gosh. I
know,
love that you love that book.
uh,
I would buy those books and give them to everybody.
yeah,
And then your word is your wand. I mean, I bought the ones where she has the 4 books in one book. but that's Florence Scovel Shinn.
Yeah.
And the latest book, and I've actually shared it with your wife, and it's The Whole Body Prayer.
Mm.
She just finished it, and I bought the book, and my acupuncturist told me about it, and he lives by this book. He has a stack behind his desk that he gives to people. But Billy, this book, I've never read an entire book on an airplane. I have, it changed. It's a true story. Ask Diana about it. But I would probably say that one right now is just like in my soul. And I gave it to my father-in-law to read. And he said, Ashley, that was the best gift I've ever received.
Wow.
And if you have any other books like this, please send them my way.
So it's The Whole Body Prayer?
Yeah, The Whole
And who
Body
wrote
Prayer.
It? Who wrote it?
Yem, something.
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, The Whole Body Prayer. Oh my gosh. Yeah, ask Diana. Well,
I
Diana got the
can't wait to read
Audible.
it. Yeah, I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, it's real. It's amazing. True story.
She loves your podcast. My wife is constantly, I go, what do you listen to? Oh, Ashley Gonor. Every time I'm talking to her and she's got her little pods in her ear and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm listening to Ashley's podcast. So
I just love her.
Yes. Huge,
it's like
fan.
Meeting you, at a couple of years ago when we went to Michelle's birthday party. I had seen you and Diana on Zoom, from some classes and everything. And then, time would go by and Diana would say, I love this podcast. And I go, oh, you're listening? And she's like, yes, I love it. And then, I guess as we grow, I don't know how to explain this, but as looking at Diana and me, say 2 women, same age, basically, are in this journey of learning and are hungry, like are seekers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we see people, that connect with our energy like she does with me. I mean, we went to lunch that day and we were together for like, I think 4 hours. And it was like, oh my gosh, we were like glued. But that's when, like you're connected and you are, you're in my tribe, 111. But she's like, it's like, I guess when you get to 54 years old and you're looking around and seeing who's in your tribe, it's not a big tribe, and I always tell my girls that, how many friends do I have? The ones that I do have are ones that I can sit at lunch for 4 to 5 hours and never get bored and talk like crazy, but that's who I surround myself with. Because you have the choice. I don't need to, it's like, but you just see the energy of connecting and get excited to meet somebody like that you connect with like that you can have that kind of conversation. I mean, I live for those days. I live for those moments of being with Diana or, my small little group of tribal friends.
That's awesome. She, I know she's like, she loves you. I mean, you have such a beautiful energy, I could feel your energy through,
through the computer.
Yeah, your light, your love, your light, your peace, your joy, what you're doing. It's, you can feel it.
Oh, thanks.
It's a beautiful thing. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on to my podcast and sharing your wisdom and if my audience out there wants to, get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
My podcast, Uncover Your Magic. My website is ashleygonor.com, and all Instagram is Ashley Gonor, Gonor, like you're a goner.
And can you tell me about your course if anybody wants to take your Raising Confidence for Kids course?
Yes, my Raising Confidence is for teenagers, like 13 to 18. And I have a Magic Path class that are an adult parent class, 8 weeks. They kind of mirror each other. It's a children's version versus an adult version of the same basic 8 weeks. We do gratitude, a morning routine, core values, limiting beliefs. The kids learn the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. We learn scripting and manifesting, and it's a one-on-one. I take as a small, the kids are definitely one-on-one because I think they're all at different phases. And then the magic path, they do one-on-one, and then we have a big group with everybody. But yeah, I do that like three or four times a year. I do 8 weeks, and it's amazing. It's just like we were talking, you learn to give. And when I can do that, it's just, that's just lit me up so much, just like this podcast.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and keep shining your light. And I look forward to seeing you in person.
I know, me too. We'll have to do that soon for sure.
All right. Take care.